Today we are going to be talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division of real numbers. So first let's look at some definitions. A real number is any number on the, and I'm drawing a number line. So any number on the number line. And when I say any number, I'm not just talking about these whole numbers here. I'm talking about even the numbers in between, like 1/2, or you can call it 0.5. Any number on the number line anywhere is a real number. Second definition we want to look at is an integer. An integer is any whole number or its opposite. So by opposite, that means like negative. So a whole number or its opposite. So 1 or -1, 2 or -2, so on and so forth. Alright, so now let's talk about some rules we need to follow here. So rules of integers. First, we are going to talk about rules applying to addition and subtraction. So when you're adding or subtracting with opposite signs, so in other words, one's positive, one's negative, or one's negative and one's positive, what you're going to do is you're going to subtract the biggest number minus the smallest number, and keep the sign of the bigger number. All right? If you're adding or subtracting and they have the same signs, you're going to add the numbers and keep the sign. Alright, so let's look at some examples of that. So first example, -8 plus 3. So which category does that fall under? We've got a negative and a positive, so that means opposite signs. So we're going to subtract the biggest number minus the smallest number. And that means you're not looking at the sign. So I'm just looking at 8 and 3. Which of those is bigger? Well, 8 is bigger, so I'm going to do 8 minus 3. 8 minus 3 is 5. And then keep the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is 8. And the sign that goes with it is negative, so my answer is going to be -5. All right, another example. 4 minus 10. Okay, positive 4, -10, so that means it falls under the category of opposite signs again. So that means I'm going to subtract biggest number minus smallest number. Just looking at the number, not looking at the signs, I've got 4 and 10. 10 is bigger, so I'm going to do 10 minus 4. 10 minus 4 is 6. And keep the sign of the bigger number. So the bigger number is 10. The sign that goes with it is negative. So that means my answer is going to be -6. All right, another example. How about 2 plus 6? So those are both positive. So they have the same sign. So that means add the numbers. So 2 plus 6 is 8. And keep the sign. Well, it's positive, that's positive, so we're just going to leave it. Alright, next example. We've got -1 minus 7. Okay, both of those are negative, so that means same sign. So you're going to add the numbers. Just looking at the numbers 1 and 7. 1 plus 7 is 8. And keep the sign. The sign is negative, so that means my answer is going to be -8. Alright, so now we've talked about addition and subtraction. Let's talk about multiplication and division. So the rules for this are similar to each other, the multiplication and division, or they're the same. If you have multiplication of a negative times a negative, your answer will be negative. Similarly, if you have a negative divided by a negative, your answer is going to be positive for both. Sorry, mess up there. All right, and if you have negative times a positive, that's going to be a negative. If you have a negative divided by a positive, that's going to be a negative. If you have a positive times a negative, that's a negative. And if you have a positive divided by a negative, that's going to give you a negative. All right, so make sure you wrote everything down right, because I said it wrong once. So make sure you have written down what I have written down. Okay, so now let's move on. I'm not going to do any examples with those because we're going to do some word problems that includes that. So you don't have this yet, but I'll give you one to stick into your notebook tomorrow. Let's look at our first word example. So when Brianna's first CD sold 1 million copies, her record label gave her a $5,000 bonus. She split the money evenly between herself, her agent, her producer, and her stylist. How much money did each person receive? So she was given $5,000, keyword. She split the money evenly. So the word split and evenly tells me divide. Okay, and she split the money between herself, her agent, her producer, and her stylist. So that's 4 people. How much money did each person receive? So that means we're going to take the total amount of money, which was $5,000, and we're going to split it, or in other words, divide it by 4, because there were 4 people that it was split evenly amongst. So 5,000 divided by 4. If you need to come over to the side here and do it the old-fashioned way, because we don't have calculators, you can come over here and do it the old-fashioned way. Remember, 4 goes into 5 one time. When you subtract 5 minus 4, you get 1. Bring down the 0. 4 goes into 10 twice. And 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down the 0. And 4 goes into 20 5 times evenly. All right, 20 minus 20 is 0. Bring down the 0. 4 goes into 0 0 times. So that means our answer is $1,250. Each person received $1,250. All right, let's look at one more example. I'm going to flip my paper around real quick. All right, next strip. The record high temperature in somewhere, Texas was 90 degrees. The record low was negative 12 degrees. What is the difference between the two temperatures? So keyword difference. Anytime you're looking at the difference, you are going to do highest minus lowest. So our highest temperature is 90 minus the lowest temperature is negative 12. Now I want you to recall that parentheses here means I'm multiplying this implied negative 1 times negative 12. So remember, a negative times a negative, those are going to go cross through, and that's going to become a positive. So it's almost like saying 90 plus 12. So 90 plus 12 is going to give us 102. So the difference between those two temperatures is 102 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, don't forget, pause, rewind. If you have any questions, make sure that you submit that whisk.